I would like to express my gratitude to Gulbenkian Foundation and the Program of the Environment for organizing these 6 very significant seminars, conferences, to talk about ecological environmental classics. So, congratulations for organizing this. Also, I would like to thank and express my gratitude for choosing me to speak about one of the great classics, Small is Beautiful, and Schumacher's work. And also I would like to thank Tim O'Riordan for proposing my name for this conference. And this is my first visit to Portugal. And with my wife, June, we have been here for the last 4 days, and we have been enjoying your charming city and beautiful country. And what better for this title, Small is Beautiful, in this small Portugal. So your country is small, but it is beautiful. Small is beautiful. Small also has to be beautiful. Smallness is not a guarantee of beauty. So small is beautiful, but small also has to be beautiful. And so I hope that Portugal is small, is beautiful, and will remain beautiful, and not allow this industrial giantism and globalization and ecological catastrophe and environmental destruction which has been going on in the growing economic growth. In that name of economic growth, big has become really disastrous and really dangerous. So I hope that Portugal is beautiful and will remain beautiful. Now, I have written a paper, as I was requested, 5,000 words, but I'm not going to read it. I hope that Gulbenkian Foundation will put it on their website or some email connection or website connection so that you can download it or read it on the internet. But I would like to speak to it. I will make the points which I have written in this paper. Sometimes people think the small is insignificant and powerless. Margaret Mead once said that if you think the small is insignificant and powerless, then try sleeping with a mosquito in your room. So, small can be very annoying as well, but also powerful. Also, Margaret Mead said that all the great movements, great changes in the world, transformational movement, have started with small group of people committed, dedicated to their cause. So if you take any great movement, how did Christianity start? How did Buddhism start? How did the movement for independence of India start? How did the civil rights movement start? How did the anti-apartheid movement start? All the great movements start with small group of committed people. So now we are at a cusp of great transformation and change and transition. And that transition will have to start with a small group of us gathered in this room. People like us who are committed to an ecological, environmental, sustainable, green. All these words have their limitations, but I'm using them all together. You can take your choice. A world which is a world of well-being for people and for the planet Earth. Happy people, happy planet. That kind of world, if we want to create, a small group of people have to take courage, have hope, have commitment, have dedication, and begin the journey. The Great Wall of China was built by one brick, one piece of stone at a time. a great tree always starts with a small seed. My mother used to say that, Satish, which is the smallest seed that you can find? The smallest seed I found was a seed of a banyan tree. And then my mother said, all right, now just break it. How can you break such a small seed? It's very difficult to break. Anyway, I tried it. Broken. My mother said, what is in the seed? I said, nothing. There's nothing in it. My mother said, the entire great banyan tree with 1,000 branches is in it. That small seed. And so, small is powerful, small is beautiful. This is what Schumacher understood in his journey of life, through his experience, through his travels in countries like Burma, in countries like India, and his own discovery. Because he found that large organizations create large footprint on this earth. These big companies, multinational corporations, what do? They export, import, transport. And what is the result of that export, import, and transport? All based on the fossil fuel. Polluting the air, causing global warming, and destroying the natural world. And jobs. In spite of all the industrialization, of globalization, of big companies, in huge countries like the United States of America, and countries like, even smaller than the United States, but countries like England and France, and I don't know about Portugal, what is your job situation, but in these big countries, multinational corporations, big businesses, big industry, big factories, and yet we have 10%, 15%, 20%, in certain areas 20% unemployment. So if big was able to succeed in making solutions, why a country like the United States of America and Great Britain and France and other European countries have not solved the problem of work? And if, in spite of all this economic growth, we are in a situation where people are insecure about their work and their job, what is going to happen in the future? And if countries like Portugal, which is still a wonderful country with great amount of agriculture and small farms and small scale industry and handicrafts in small villages and small towns that you have, maybe Lisbon is a bit too big, and I will come to that when Schumacher talked about cities. So globalization of economy has not produced the solution of economy. And economy on a large scale is divorced from ecology. Recently I was invited to a very important, very big British university called London School of Economics. And when I was there, I asked the professors who invited me, I said, where is your department for ecology? And you know what the answer was? They said, we don't have one. Now I said, do you understand the meaning of economy and ecology? The word economy and ecology come from three Greek words. Ekos, logos, nomos. Ekos means eco, means home, planet home. In the great wisdom of the Greek philosophers, they called the entire earth, the entire planet, home. And what is home? Home is a place of relationships. When you go home, where do you go? You go to a place where you have relationships. You have father, mother, son, daughter, husband, wife, friends, guests, even with your furniture, even your pots and pans in your kitchen, you have a relationship. So ecos is a home, a place of relationships. And the logos means knowledge. How all these planetary species, 8.4 million species, recently scientists have discovered, are there on this planet. How they relate to each other. We are all related. We are all connected. This interdependence and interconnectedness of all beings, all creatures, all species on this planet. How does it work? How they relate to each other. The knowledge of those relationships is ecology. Ecology is more than an academic, scientific discipline studied by some scholars in universities with a little, even very reductionist, very small scale, some example of relationship. But ecology is a philosophy. It's a science and a philosophy, an understanding. And so ecology means knowledge of planet home. And nomos, from which comes economy, is management. Management of planet home is economy. So I asked my learned professors of LSE, please tell me how anyone is going to manage something which they don't know. Ecology means knowledge. Economy means management. You are teaching them management of something that they don't know. Ecology and economy must be studied together. That was the fundamental message, fundamental idea of E.F. Schumacher in Small is Beautiful. He went further than small is beautiful. He said the challenge of our time is metaphysical reconstruction. How are you going to do that metaphysical reconstruction unless you have a sense of relationship, relatedness to all species upon this earth? But our universities, and you can go and ask your learned professors in the University of Lisbon, and you can ask any other universities of Harvard, or Yale, or Cambridge, or Oxford, or any big universities, they will teach economy to thousands upon thousands of students. And these LSE students particularly go all over the world trying to manage economy. No wonder the world economy is in such a mess. Because they are trying to manage something which they don't know. What is they are managing? So ecology and economy must go together. That was the one essential, fundamental idea where Schumacher stands out. When in 1972, the first UN conference in Stockholm took place. And at that time, people were looking for ecological dimension to economy, and economic dimension to ecology. And Schumacher, who was in last 10 years, since Rachel Carson's work of Silent Spring in the 60s, he was working on these ideas. And then, and he had many essays on those subjects. So he sat down together after the Stockholm conference and brought all those papers together and wove them together and created this idea of small is beautiful. And so at that time, when there was a lot of crisis as well, there was an oil crisis at that time, and there were a social crisis at that time. So Schumacher said that economy should be first and foremost an understanding that it is more than money supply. But the most economists now talk about economy, but they don't mean economy. They only mean money supply. When they say the Portuguese economy is in terrible trouble, we are in debt, economy. It's not economy. They are not talking about economy. There is no economic crisis in Portugal. There is no economic crisis in Greece. There is no economic crisis in Italy. If the economy, the ecos, the planet home and its management with ecological context. Have the olive trees stopped producing olive oil? No. Have your land stopped producing corn and wheat and rice and potatoes? No. Have your cows stopped giving milk? No. Have your workers stopped working? No. All that is part of economy. But economic crisis, economic crisis, economic crisis. Every day, newspapers, magazines, radio, television, ministers, academics, business leaders, industrialists, they all talk about economic crisis. It's a money crisis. And what is money? Money is not economy. Money is not wealth. People talk about bankers being wealth creators. They are not wealth creators. They are wealth destroyers. They go out and destroy the rainforest, cut down the rainforest to make money. The moment you put a price on anything, Schumacher said in Small is Beautiful, the moment you put price on nature, nature becomes commodity. It's no longer sacred. And so these bankers are turning all our natural wealth into commodities. So economic crisis is really only a financial crisis. If you take the classic economics, which Schumacher talks about, in classic economics you have at the top land, then labor, then capital. Land comes first. In our modern economic, so-called economic system, industrial, financial, fiscal system, land has become a commodity. Land is only a real estate. Land is only an investment to buy and sell. But land is a source of life. Land represents the entire natural world. The forests, the rivers, even the mountains, even the mining, even the animals. We all come from the land. We are made of the earth. Our food, our clothes, our houses, this wood upon which we are standing, so all come from the land. If our economists had completely disconnected themselves from the land, from nature, from the environmental world, what do they know about economy? They get Nobel Prize, but they know nothing about land. How they can be economists? So economists are not even economists. And then after land, in classic economics,